All right, Mike. Well, unfortunately, if you don't get in here really quick on the ninth inning situation here, we might just miss it. We're already down to our last two outs. We just missed a Gavin Lux strikeout. That gives us the first out of the top of the ninth. Down 3-0. And I don't know. Maybe we'll find a way to score 3. Who knows? Maybe 4. I don't know. I told myself, coming into tonight, Mike, that I was just going to be positive. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to try to be positive. I've been very pessimistic lately. I've just been down to the dumps. Just too much going on. Trying to do too many things at one time. Sometimes you get a little stressed about it. And the reality is that, this baseball team hasn't provided a whole lot of joy in the last 2 weeks for me personally. But you know what? I'm going to try to fight through the fight here. And what did they do for us? Well, they've gone out and given us 0 runs as we head into the top of the ninth, Mike. 3-0, Craig, by the way.
Yeah, it's not even really close, too. Like, I don't know. There's maybe a couple places. Like I got the box score recap where we could have driven in runs, but it's not been pretty as Noel V. Marte grounds out to the pitcher, and now we have 1 out left. Yeah, it's been kind of sad. I was thinking today, I was like, this team's just kind of gonna alternate winning and losing for the rest of the year, right? We're just gonna go back and forth and maybe end up with 81 and 81. That's kind of where I'm thinking we're gonna end up.
Well,
which is better than what Vegas said, but it's not getting you to the playoffs.
It's just not good enough, right? Yeah, we're stuck in the middle ground here.
Hot shot, Sal Stewart, Arenado throws him out, and that's the ball game.
That'll do it. Reds fall to the St. Louis Cardinals 3-0. We'll be right back with a whole lot to talk about as we break down another shutout of your Cincinnati Reds in 2025. Hippie Kaye.
He scored! Oh my God! Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep.
In the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant.
Larkins won the game.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none.
Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling, and the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Chatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded, the outfield deep and around toward right, and the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on, long drive, right field, and this one belongs to the Reds.
And a high drive, hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club.
Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my, that is a triple.
Matt McLean's first big league bomb.
Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again.
The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive. Left center field. Racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Reds win! Line to the right field. Judges the first run ever with 4 home runs in a game. away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed a no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, Mike, it is a losing edition of Chatterbox Reds, and this one actually does feel like it's the one. I know that we've kind of gone back and forth quite a bit on where are we at? Do we still got a chance? How does it feel to kind of let this slip away? And yeah, it's demoralizing for sure, but, there's still 2.5 games back with 13 to play at times, and then you're only 1 game back at some point, and next thing you know, you're a half game back, and then you feel like you're watching the Mets lose every single night, Mike, and you're just starting to maybe get your hopes up and you believe in it, and then they go out and, for all intents and purposes, I guess just drop the ball. I don't really know how else to say it. They have completely dropped the ball. They had an opportunity that was a realistic chance to make the postseason, and they've just not been able to execute, Mike. And at this point, I think it's safe to say they're going to drop another game back here in the wild card race. They're going to be 3 back with 3 teams in front of them with 11 games to go. Some are going to say, well, mathematically, Mike, I'm at the point now where it's just I'm just going to start to kind of decompress and just try to do my best to lay low. And I know that's not what people want out of me sometimes, and there's obviously other people that get frustrated when I scream and yell and ask why I'm always yelling, and I'll tell you the answer is because of what we just watched. I'll be honest. I mean, every time you think you get somewhere, Mike, with this team, they just want to slap you right in the face and say, well, you're a sucker. We're Charlie Brown. That's who we are.
Yeah, it's one of those things every time you see an offensive output like last night, you think maybe we've turned a corner. Maybe we got to their bullpen, we strung together some hits, and then we go get 3 hit by Michael McGreevy and company, and doesn't feel very good. I mentioned before, it kind of feels like this is kind of the fate that the 2025 Reds are going to fall into. I think they'll probably win a couple more games, lose a couple more games, and finish right about 500, about 4 games out of the playoff spot. And that it feels, I know we've already proclaimed them dead a few times, but it hurts to feel, kind of a way about this team that, that had so much excitement, so many chances, frankly, to be able to pull together something that then kind of just fizzles out without a real whimper. That's a pretty disappointing feeling to have.
I'm with you. I think it's mostly disappointing for one specific reason, and we'll get to that in the show because obviously we want to save some meat and potatoes, I guess, if you want to call it that, for the show. I don't want to go too far out and say, hey, I've already thrown out my best takes within the first few minutes. But, Mike, it's not the most glorious one, but we're going to do it nonetheless. It's a box score recap, and it's going to be presented by you. And by God, these are not the ones that are the best to run through. But nonetheless, give it your best effort, if you will, Mike.
Will do. Luckily, the Reds made it nice and short for us today. With the win yesterday, though, the Reds entered today's game with just 2 games back of the Mets. And tonight the Reds had all-star Andrew Abbott on the mound against right-handed pitching Mike McGreevy for the Cards. Cardinals started out the scoring, though, in the bottom of the first as Brendan Donovan doubled, Ivan Herrera singled, and Nolan Arenado hit a sacrifice fly to center, and all just like that. First 3 batters in, it was 1-0 Cardinals. Abbott would settle down a little bit, and then the Reds would actually come back and get their first 2 on in the second with the Sal Stewart walk and a Benson single. But then Tyler Stevenson grounded into a double play to Nolan Arenado where he just stepped on the bag and threw him out at first. Then Ellie walked, but Ke'Bryan Hayes grounded into grounded out to second, and that ended that threat. In the bottom of the third, Abbott got 2 quick outs, but then Burleson got a hit that was right or just right out of the reach of Sal Stewart at first base. And then the final blow, the killing blow, then utility man Thomas Sajaci hit his 3rd career home run in just over 300 at-bats or plate appearances, and now the Cardinals had a 3-0 lead. Neither offense really had a threat, but Abbott's command and some good at-bats by the Cardinals forced him out in the 5th. His final line would end up being 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, no walks, but 7 strikeouts. Not awful, but proved to be too much for the Reds offense tonight. Scott Barlow, Zach Maxwell, and Brent Suter all had clean innings, but it didn't really matter with how McGreevy was pitching. He finished his day 7 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. And then JoJo Romero and Riley O'Brien, bullpen stalwarts that we've all heard about before, finished this off without much of a whimper. We ended up with 3 hits, and the game ended 3-0. The Reds fell back below 500, now 75 and 76, and that is, by my count, the 12th time the Reds have been shut out this season. And this one didn't show much life in it anyway. So that's the box score recap, the sad box score recap, presented by Nick Kirby.
Yeah, we'll give that one to Nick.
Yeah, shout out.
Why
to,
not?
Shout out to Nick.
Yeah, Nick picked a really good time to have a child. I can tell you that right now. Never a bad time to have a child, but Nick picked a perfect one. Some are saying. DSC. We had a deep drive of the day. There wasn't one. I'm just going to give you the ad read because at this point, what was the deep drive of the day? Shout out to Craig for even finding one in the organization.
Yeah, Blake. I was going to say AAA had a couple.
Blake Dunn. I mean, Blake Dunn. Remember that
Led
guy?
off the game.
Remember that guy? He's kind of like on the same pedigree as one Bubba Thompson. I do think Blake Dunn's a little better than Bubba Thompson, but I will say, Bubba Thompson was an athlete, and so was Blake Dunn. He hit his 7th home run of the year, fly ball to right center field, 105.9 off the bat. Louisville's win probability would jump up 10% to 64%. And to be honest with you, we'll have to wait till Reds MILB to find out if they won, and Mike's telling me they won. So spoiler alert, they did win. DSC, though, they are a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thank you to DSC all year long for supporting us in this show, and thank you all that are tuning in on a night like tonight to support us.
In Blake Dunn's defense, Bubba Thompson went from being on a major league roster to switching sports within a year. So I give Blake Dunn a little bit more credit than Bubba Thompson.
Well, I mean, hey, Bubba Thompson, athlete.
That's true.
This is the thing with this team. That is the most infuriating thing of it all. They have something that is elite that I'm not really sure we can replicate. That's the biggest concern I have moving forward, is that we got a pretty healthy year out of our starting pitching. I know people are going to say, well, Rhett Lauder was hurt, and, for all intents and purposes, I guess Hunter Green was out for a little bit of time. But I think if you're realistic going into a season based off the way that it can go, you would take 100% the health that the Reds have had this year from a staff perspective. And we've just not been able to capitalize on it. And it's just crazy to think that you could have legitimately a top 3 rotation in all of baseball and still finish below 500. That almost seems impossible to do, but yet we've done it. And this isn't going to come off. I'm not here to complain on a night like tonight. I'm not going to sit here and, for lack of a better word, beat a dead horse. I mean, that's what we could do. That's what I could do. I could say we've been talking about this all year. This is disgusting. We're not good enough. We'll get to the offense here in just a second. Andrew Abbott, the sad thing about Andrew Abbott, I pull up his line item right here. Obviously, he gets the loss. I get that he got hit a little bit. If we're going to be honest, he got hit around a little bit. But they gave up 3 runs. I mean, it's like Would I have liked Andrew Abbott to go out tonight and throw 8 innings of scoreless baseball, Mike, and be the quote-unquote stopper that you need to have? Yeah, but the reality is I don't even know if it would have mattered. We didn't score a run, so I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to sit here and some messes, and he gave the Reds a chance to win. And I know people aren't going to like me saying that, but that's what he did. He gave the Reds a chance to win, and that's what pitchers are supposed to do.
Yeah, obviously coming off of a really good start as well in his previous start. It hasn't been perfect for him in this second half, but I have been pretty encouraged with, he's had some bad starts, but he went 8 innings, 1 run against the Padres his last time out. So we have seen some positive growth for Andrew Abbott this season. But I also think that this was, he didn't even make it through 5. I think if we're in June, he probably goes back. He probably at least tries to finish the 5th. He was at 91 pitches or something like that, 96 pitches. He did give up 7 hard hit balls, though. You're right. But I think that Tito was just like, hey, but I don't want this to get out of hand. Let's bring in bullpen. We, for the most part with days off and things like that and good pitching performances that we've had, bullpen's pretty rested compared to earlier in the year. So I think that would have been something that we would have seen potentially more length out of Abbott. So I get why you're like, man, our all-stars got to give us more than 4 2/3 innings. But I think he might have if it would have been more of not a must-win game per se. But, I mean, you're right, though. Like, this game was over the moment he gave up a sac fly in the first inning, right? It's like the Reds didn't really even come. I think they only got a guy to second maybe twice or once, maybe 1 inning, the inning where they got their first 2 guys on. And that's just not good enough for you if you're going to do that. Like, overall, St. Louis, didn't really cover themselves in glory very much offensively either.
They weren't good.
Like
either.
they look like
bad.
they look like a slightly below 500 team that's kind of playing out the script at the end of the year.
100%.
That's what they look like. And they just happened to hit one over the fence and then got a great pitching performance from McGreevy, which is it's two times the Reds have faced McGreevy and they haven't gone well either time. So I don't know if it's they don't see him well. I don't know if it's the type of pitch, like he's kind of sinker baller. And I know the Reds had a bunch of ground outs today. Any rallies were just killed by grounding into double plays in multiple innings. So I don't know if it was that or just, the Reds are out of juice. Whatever it is, it's just unfortunate to see.
Well, you were asking about how many opportunities they had. They had 2 guys left in scoring position. 0 for 3 with 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. And they had basically Marte and Hayes, the 2 that got in scoring position all night. If you're wondering, you didn't watch the game and you're wondering how it went offensively, well, the Reds' expected batting average in this baseball game was 183. The St. Louis Cardinals' expecting batting average was 204. It was just not great offensive play on either side. And the issue at this point in the season is that you don't have any margin for error. We can sit here and we can make a big deal about it and be like, oh, this is a huge opportunity for them to go out and try to find a way to continue to keep pace with the Mets. You knew the Mets at some point were going to win baseball games. You've already kind of blown your opportunity, and that's kind of where every time, and I know we've posted it, and I know people have mentioned it, and it's like, well, the Reds have lost 3 of 4, and they didn't lose any ground. Well, they did lose ground. Depending on how your perspective, however you want to look at it, they did lose ground because we all know that you're still trailing. And if a team, if you lose 3 of your 4 games and you didn't lose any ground, well, guess what you could have done? You could have gained a significant amount of ground. So when the Mets rattle off 5 or 6 or 7 wins in a row, we can't cry wolf. Like, we can't complain about it. They're due to win 2, 3, 4 games in a row. That's just what the Mets have done in the past. That's who they are to a certain extent. And you kind of were hoping they would completely have the wheels fall off. And they kind of have. I mean, they genuinely did let the wheels completely fall off. And now you find yourself in a position where, the most disheartening thing is we have teams at the deadline that were getting rid of players that everybody acted like they were the best possible player on the market as a trade opportunity at the deadline in Eugenio Suarez, Mike. And that same team that sold and dumped these players is ahead of your Cincinnati Reds.
It's now a game up on the Reds.
St. Louis Cardinals in the offseason said we are going to have to rebuild. They came out and publicly stated that they were not trying to win, basically. Their fan base gets all upset. They boycott in St. Louis. Hell, their stadium's as empty as it's ever been. And guess what? They win tomorrow. And they're right there neck and neck with the Reds, a team that supposedly is in their window.
Yeah,
I don't know how else to state it, Mike, without saying that's why it's so disheartening. People wonder why I get upset. People wonder why, there's legitimate fans that are just, for lack of a better term, I'll use it, like maybe not to the umpth degree, and I hate using this word, but they're depressed about this team. Like, there is a depression about this team in the way that you look at it that makes you really sad, because you aren't going to get better starting pitching, in my opinion, in the next decade. And I know people are going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but I have a hard time believing that we're ever going to get better starting pitching than we got this year. And
yeah,
what changes, Mike? I guess that's where I'm at. It's like, what changes? How do you fix a problem that you don't seemingly have a solution for?
Yeah, I think depressing is something that I think is apt for this, because it's just when there doesn't seem to be a way forward besides hope, right? It's just like, well, we hope our guys get better. And I don't know who was saying this, but it's just like, hope can't be a strategy here. Our strategy can't be just like, well, we hope it gets better, because there's real holes, real issues that we have. Now, I think it's good to project that some of these young players will get better, but I don't think that anything like that's not enough to completely change our aspect of where this team lands. And, offensively, there's just, I was trying to pinpoint, I was like, during watching this game, watching them just completely fizzle, I was just like, why is this team so streaky? I've heard this comment a few times. Is like, well, they don't really have like a veteran leader in there to bring him out of that, right? People point to Joey Votto, or back to those early 2010s, it was Scott Rowland or something like that. Somebody a veteran that was just going to go out there and like help get this team to the point where it's like, hey, we're struggling, but we're not done here. Let's pick our heads up, because it's like this game, by the fourth inning, I was like, we're not going to score a run, are we? It was just so predictable because of how lost they seemed to be, how defeated it felt like they were, that, I'd seen this play way too many times in this season. It was just like, well, this is it. 3 seems like way too many runs for us to be able to get to. And I know we scored some off of the bullpen last night, but it's just like, we haven't really shown extended ability to do that, to get up off the mat for the most part. And I don't know if that is because we don't have this veteran presence. I know that was theoretically what Candelario was supposed to be. Right. I also know that theoretically that's something that Tito was supposed to bring as well. Yeah, so I don't know. I've heard that. And do I think that it plays no role? No, I think it maybe has some. When your best players are 23 years old, 24 years old, still new in the big leagues, I understand how, we're in these ruts and we don't really know how to get out of that, and having some seasoned vet in the clubhouse may help with that. But I just, it's like, okay, maybe we go get that, but I don't know if that is, that's going to help us for four games, 3, 4, like we're going to miss the playoffs by 4, 3, maybe 5 games, right? Is that does that make us that much better by having, a grizzled vet who's going to whip our clubhouse into shape? Or, I don't know. I don't know where that stands. with
yeah, I mean the
if there's any
underlying
weight there.
The underlying question that you're getting at is how much value is there in somebody that has won before? That's the ultimate question. I don't know the answer to, and by all accounts, I've said from the very get-go, and I think that this show has been pretty straight-laced when it comes to what we feel like managers can and can't do. And shame on me, really. I'll say it. Shame on me for not saying how I truly feel at times on this show, because I think what it ultimately does is it always comes off as I am perhaps always pessimistic, and I try to hide that from time to time. But as soon as they announced that, we had Tito Francona coming in over David Bell, I personally, as I've said before, and I don't care who they go and get, to be honest with you, that's not going to be at any level the main move that's going to do anything for your team. I mean, it just can't be. And that can't be your main offseason acquisition and think that you're going to get significantly better. And if Tito coming over hasn't proved that, then nothing will. Because it's pretty obvious that a lot of the things that we complained about or had issues with last year, we still find ourselves asking those same types of questions. If anything, we've asked ourselves where things have gone. We don't steal bases hardly at all anymore, and I get you got to get on base to do that. It doesn't seem like we're a very fun and upbeat, energetic team, and I know that when Ellie struggles, that's probably a big part of that, because Ellie's maybe the straw that stirs that drink a little bit. If Ellie's going great, then maybe the vibes are a little bit higher, because Ellie's a very charismatic guy. Obviously, Will Benson, very much of that same cloth, If Will Benson has big moments in a game, he gets all fired up, and next thing you know, you feel maybe different about the energy around the team. I just continue to fall back on one thing, and again, I'm going to leave it at this. I don't want to sit here and make it sound like there's no way out of all this, because there is an opportunity for some guys to bounce back and play significantly better than what they've done this year. Matt McLain has a chance to be a significantly higher value player than what he's proved to be this year. Ellie De La Cruz, another guy that clearly has a level to him that he didn't even come close to achieving this year. So those two guys in the middle of the infield are very much a big part of all this, and they've had down seasons, and that very much probably explains the downs. But I'm going to go back to the top, and that's where I'm ultimately going to always go back right now when we continue to find ourselves in these same middle of the road, meddling water where we're not going anywhere, we're not sinking, but we're not rising either. And at some point, you're going to have to go and you're going to have to steal from what is the best of the best in the business and figure out what they're doing maybe that you're not doing. And I think a lot of the things that make winning baseball and winning cultures and great organizations, I think a lot of it, Mike, happens behind the scenes. A lot of it. I think that there's preparation. There's so much details to success, whether it's mentorship, whether it's player development, whether it's a model of consistency of the way in which you want your franchise to be ran and or played. And it starts when you get into the organization and it moves all the way up. And there's just this absolute laser focus on what needs to happen to win. And I'll be honest, there is nobody, not a single soul in this organization that has ever won anything. That doesn't mean that they can't find a way to win. Doesn't mean they're not smart enough to win. I don't want to make it sound like I'm completely saying that they're completely worthless. But they are absolutely the same as a lot of our young core. They're unproven. We can sit there and we can boast them up and we can say that they're great and they've made this move and that move, but they've never accomplished anything in this game that is worth feeling proud about. And the only one really, I guess, would be Tito. And we all have seen how this season's gone. So I guess if you're North Carolina football, you can say you have Bill Belichick and you can feel proud about it. But are you really in a good spot? Probably not. That's where we're at. And that's how I truly feel about the whole thing, Mike. I know that we're not really talking about the game per se right now, but this is the only thing left to truly talk about that's probably even worth having a discussion around. You really do. I don't know. Maybe people will be upset at us, Mike, because we're not talking about the two scoring opportunities and why we swung at a breaking ball in the dirt in the seventh inning. I don't know, but this is where the franchise is. And I'll be honest, Mike, I got one more year. The CBA is going to come, And if we can't figure out a way to get into the postseason and make a legitimate, great baseball team, I'm ready to pick somebody out of Milwaukee. Literally. I mean, I'm going to go and take their right-hand man and say, run the organization.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about one of the things that you mentioned last time we were on about, hey, this team doesn't have anything that they do elite. And I know you talked about that from a front office standpoint, right? It's just like, you're going to need to be elite at your job. But I was thinking, and what actually made me think about this was, I think it was the bottom of the fifth, right? Ellie gets on. Then everyone's like, oh boy, here it goes. He's on. He's probably stealing. He gets thrown over twice. So the two disengagements have happened, right, and he doesn't go, and then immediately Ke'Bryan Hayes grounds into a double play. And I was just thinking to myself, it's like, man, what happened to this? What happened to Ellie? Obviously, he's dealing with some sort of injury, but we've seen some StatCasts recently of him getting up to 30 miles an hour. So he's like, he's not completely injured. He's not like Miguel Andujar injured. And it was just like, man, why can't this thing that the Reds do elite be speed, right? We got Ellie De La Cruz, who is, obviously top end of sprint seat, Matt McClain, even Noelvi Marte, Will Benson. These are all guys that can be topped out, have speed. And it's just like, I know speed doesn't always translate to
stolen bases,
stealing, stolen bases, right? But it's like, do I think that we were probably running too much under David Bell? Probably. Like, our caught stealing was too high. But the opposite extreme is what we've gone to this year. And I just feel like it's like, could we be taking far more advantage of advances on the base paths? I think so. It's like, that could be something that we, if done correctly, could lead to, giving us an advantage. Just going to steal a couple games for us because it's like that's something I think we could be elite at. Like, I can see the menu for this team with the current people that they have to be elite at stealing bases. So, I doubt that that's going to happen under Tito, who, seems to be, would way rather have you not get thrown out than you to take the risk to do that. But It's just like, that's a perfect example of, hey, your offense has done nothing. You can get this huge lead because the guy can't throw over again without getting a balk, and then you still don't run. It's just like, with the fastest guy on your team who's got over 30 stolen bases. So it's just like, I don't know why we don't choose to make that something that is like if we're not going to hit home runs, it's like, why not try to make stolen bases your premier skill that you can be elite at?
Have you ever been in sales, Mike? If not, that's okay. I give you.
I have been in sales before.
So here's the thing: if you've been in sales, or you're perhaps that's an area that you've at least tried in your career at some point, you think you're gonna probably completely understand where I'm going with this. When you don't have a lot of prospects and you haven't really done a lot of cold calling, and you get yourself in a spot where you just don't have a very big funnel, and you rarely have anyone that's even somewhat interested in the product you're selling, what do you do with those clients? What do you do with that sales process? You kind of, more or less hold on to these clients for dear life. You go above and beyond. You try to do anything you can to keep them interested, even though they might not be interested, even though they've shown signs where they're probably going to tell you no. You just hold out hope, right? You don't follow up. You don't ask the hard questions. You don't say, hey, I just kind of need a yes or no answer by tomorrow. If you say no, no big deal. You don't ever do that because you just don't want to hear no. So you'd rather them just ghost you almost. And what I'm getting at is that's what the Reds feel like they do when they get on base anymore. The opportunities don't come around enough. There's not enough in the funnel. There's not enough times where you can be like, you know what, not a big deal. We got a guy on first and second base. Let's double steal. What's the worst that can happen? We get it thrown out at third base, no big deal. We'll get guys at second and third again in an inning or two. It's not that big of a deal. But I don't feel like we operate that way because we think in the back of our mind, same way that you have when you have a very, very small sales funnel, is that you don't want to lose the only thing you finally got. You don't want to try to take a chance. You don't want to be direct. You don't want to try to actually sell. You just want to pray and hope and wish that it's going to work out for you. And that's what I feel like happens with this baseball team. It's like, we finally got a guy on first base. Let's not dare screw this up and try to steal him and get him thrown out at second base when it might be we might only have 4 base runners this game. And maybe I'm wrong, and that's the way that their mindset is, but that's how it feels. It just seems like they don't want to risk it because they don't have enough opportunities. If they were getting on base, every inning, a couple guys on base, sure, I definitely think that there's a good chance that they probably take more risk, Mike, but they don't want to do that right now. And I also would say this is the truth about Elly. I'm going to say it on the front end. I like Elly a lot. I've said it on this show, but this notion that he's going to go out there and look the same way he looked when he first came in the league, stealing every damn bag on every first pitch and just being safe almost no matter what, is going to go away, and it's going to go away real quick because he's going to get older. We can all say you can like it or not. Though Elly De La Cruz, is if he signs in free agency with whoever, I'll say maybe it's us. I don't want to be that guy, but whoever he decides to sign with, they are never, ever going to see the player that we seen when he first came up with the Reds. He will not have the ability to be that guy anymore. Now, maybe some people are going to say that I'm crazy for saying that. He's got a quad injury, and next year he's going to come back, and he's going to be doing the same thing he did in Milwaukee the first year he came up, which was steal first, or not steal first, but steal second, steal third, and then damn near, there he goes, he's stealing home. That guy's gone. I think that guy's gone. And I don't mean it to be like he's not in it for the same way he was when he first came up. But the truth is, as he gets closer, now this is where people are going to give, let me be very careful with my words here. I think Elly wants to win just as much as anybody. I also know that Elly's human. Elly's going to get older. He's going to have more aches and pains. He's probably going to find himself in a position where he doesn't feel the way that he felt when he was 21 years old versus 24 years old. Heaven forbid when he's 27 years old. And the truth is that guy's just not going to be there anymore. He's going to still be an elite level player in regards to stealing bags and having sprint speed and all that. But there's this unrealistic, in my opinion, there's going to be this unrealistic expectation that Elly's going to be the guy when he first came up here. And maybe, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think that guy will ever come back in the manner in which he was stealing, to be clear. I don't, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, I also don't need him to steal 70 bases. I just want him to go in situations like what we saw tonight. And that's the thing is, it's not the first time that's even been brought up on this program. I know that's something that you have talked about. It's just like, hey, there's a guy on first. There's nobody out. You got a guy at the plate. Why is he not trying to get out of that double play? And then we got into a double play, right? So I don't need him to steal 70, and you bring up a good point. One underrated thing that people think about stealing is just how tough that is on your body. You see some of these guys that have some big stolen base years that just stop doing it nearly as much because they're just like, hey, I don't want the wear and tear on my body. Look at Acuna, right? He goes and has that, I think it was a 40-70 season, right, where he steals 70 bags and then, gets hurt and then comes back and is barely running because he's just like, you know what? It's not worth it for that. I'm just trying to look up how many steals Ohtani has after going 50-50 last year. It's all his pitching stats.
Ohtani's gotten paid to the moon and back too, though. To be fair, like Elly has not gotten paid yet, and I know that this is going to turn into like this. This doesn't need to get clipped in the standpoint of I don't want this to get out of context at all. But like let's just be realistic and reasonable here. He's got Boris as his agent. As he grows closer and closer to getting what is a mega contract at some point, and if he plays the way he did in the second half, I think we can all agree that that's probably not going to come at all. It just won't come. But to be clear, I think that he's probably going to bounce back at some point and be the player that we've seen since he got up here until this last second half. And let me openly just say, I don't think Elly is not caring or not trying. I don't think that Elly is deciding, consciously that, I don't want to get myself hurt. But I will openly say that if there is a nagging injury or there's not feeling 100%, it seems pretty obvious to me that instead of sitting out, Mike, and being on the injured list for, call it 60 days, we've just decided that we're going to kind of peel back maybe the running game and just live with whatever results there are. And all the people in the chat are like, "Oh my God, he's 23 years old. Johnny Bench played till he was 50." Listen.
He's Johnny also Bench, a Hall of Famer.
Johnny Bench
was
a
catcher ever.
Johnny Bench was a catcher. He never, his game was never built around stealing a boatload of bags. Ellie De La Cruz's most elite weapon when he came up here, most elite weapon was his speed in stealing bags. That's what separated him significantly from every other prospect that we had. Yes, he could hit home runs. Yes, he looked like he had the ability to have a Gold Glove. Yeah, he had gap-to-gap power. But the thing that changed the game for him, when he got on base, he would turn it into a triple. You walked Ellie De La Cruz to lead the inning off, Mike, in 3 pitches when he first came up in 2023. In 3 damn pitches, Mike, he'd be standing on third base. That is crazy.
And there was nothing that pitchers could do about it, too. And I don't think you're trying to say that he has already hit his peak and his downfall. I just think that his game is going to evolve. It's going to be less about stealing and more for hopefully hitting for power, which has seemed to gone absent for the second half of the season. But he's going to be much more of the hitter focused and a guy who may steal 20, 30 bases still, but it's going to be much less centered around speed, because that's kind of like a young man's tool that they choose to use. And it's going to be more focused on hopefully hitting extra base hits and home runs. And so I guess that is what you're trying to say. By the way, Ohtani went from 59 steals last year to 19 this year. So, obviously when you choose to run, he clearly can run, but when he's clearly choosing not to run as much because of the wear and tear. Obviously he's also pitching. So that has something to do with it as well. But, I think that I'm fine with him settling into something that is, 20, even 20 steals. Like, look at Francisco Lindor, right? He stole a bunch when he was younger. He's now gotten older and he steals about 20 bags a year. It's like, that would be, if he were able to fall into that and then show power and, show improvement on the offensive side of the spectrum and just use his speed, scoring from first base on gappers or, scoring from third on crazy contact plays. It's like that. I think that's still able to maximize or at least really genuinely take advantage of the incredible raw speed that he has without needing him to risk it stealing 60 bags. Right. It just doesn't feel like we've hit that right medium for it, because we get situations like tonight where I think that would have been the time to do it and we don't. So,
right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I let's just be clear about this. Ellie it's not that I don't think he's going to be a good player moving forward. It's just that I think that his game is going to change, and it's unfortunate that I don't think we're ever going to see the runner that we've seen in 2023, because there's wear and tear in this game. That's what there is. Like it or not, but that's the truth. And one thing that this organization has done this year, Mike, that I think we can all agree on is they've not really been very, what I would call, forthcoming with injuries, which is fine. We don't need to know. I get that maybe you would say that it's a disadvantage to share publicly how guys are feeling, whether they're, completely healthy or not. And you don't want, maybe the opposing manager to know that Spencer Steer has a hurt shoulder. So maybe you'd rather intentionally walk this guy to get to Spencer Steer because he's got a hurt shoulder, or maybe Ellie's got a quad injury. So when he's at first base, perhaps you don't spend as much attention on him because he's probably maybe not going to steal at nearly the same rate as you would. But the reality is that they've proven or showcased that they will play guys that are hurt. And I don't know if that's the case for Ellie. I'm not going to put it this way, I'm not going to give Ellie the excuse that his quad has been the reason why he's been this unproductive. I don't think that's fair, totally. But I'm also not going to say that it's not some or possibly the reason as to why we've had some of these things happen either. Somewhere in the middle probably lies the truth. But let's face it, there's a lot of things that are going to have to change moving in 2026. And to round this whole thing out, I'd just say they need to go and get somebody that has won before. And no offense to Jeimer Candelario or no offense to I guess I have to say his name, even though I don't really want to, but Nick Martinez is another guy that they spent a lot of money on. These guys, they didn't move the needle. And I hate to say this, but if you are a small market, you don't get the opportunity to miss. And I'm not saying Nick Martinez was a miss. Someone's going to come back to me and say, well, based off of how much the rest of the league values him at, I'm not talking about that. I'm specifically talking about this team and what they truly needed to get help to actually win baseball games. And I think we can all agree that if the Reds could do it over again, they probably would spend that money elsewhere. And I get it. People are going to say, well, who would you have gone out and gotten? Because all the free agents that they could have gotten that were rumored, none of them play well. I don't play that game. Because if Ke'Bryan Hayes has improved anything to you in 2025, it's that when guys go to other places, okay, they might struggle there. But when they come here, they might not struggle, and vice versa. So I'm not going to play the whole, goofy game of, well, I'm sure glad we didn't get this guy because, look, he's hitting 247 for the Giants. Well, it's just not apples to apples comparisons, even though I think we can make it seem that simple. Front office has a lot of decisions to make, Mike. We'll see what they do, I guess.
Yeah. I see a lot in the chat of people just bringing up examples of people that ran until Ricky Henderson stole a bunch of bases until he was 40. It's just like, we can keep bringing up, anomaly Hall of Fame players that did this. It's like, cool. Yeah, right. I appreciate that the Reds had some players that were incredible, that did a lot of really cool things in in an era different than this. But it's just like to say, well, this guy did it. Why can't he do it? Well, this guy did it. Why can't he do it? Like, if we keep playing that, we could play that game all day long about any stat you want. It's just like what we're dealing with is the reality of what we're seeing is, a guy who is, kind of worn down this year, whether it's
what it feels
how much of it has to do with the injury, how much it has to do with just, what he's going through mentally. I'm not sure. I'm in no way giving up on Ellie, and I will be first on the, I'm still first on the bandwagon of expectation that he's going to bounce back next year. But it's just like, I just don't want to play the game of, well, this guy does this. Well, this guy, Derek Jeter never missed a game, or, it's just like, well, hey, this is a different era of baseball, and he's different, to compare him to,
he's not that player.
The best base stealer in the ever is, it's like, okay, all right. I just don't want to. We could get down that rabbit hole, and it just doesn't seem productive.
It'd be like saying, well, Nick Foles went out and won a Super Bowl as a backup quarterback for the Philadelphia Phillies. Why can't Jake Browning? It's like, well, that seems to be a crazy, outlandish jump we just made. Maybe we should backtrack that and try to ask ourselves. All we're doing, to be clear, and all I'm doing in this show right now about Ellie is trying to break down the why. Is trying to figure out why it looks the way it looks right now. And all I'm saying is I think that he, either mentally or physically, is not the same guy that he was in 2023. And I'm openly saying I don't know if we're ever going to get that guy again. I mean, maybe he'll get close to that. He's going to be better. Put it this way. He's going to be better, I hope, moving forward than he has been this year. But I just don't know if we're going to get the guy that we seen who just was an absolute electric factory every time he got on base when he first came up. That's the moral of the story from my end, to be clear. And I still do believe in Ellie. Yes, I do. Because sadly, I not to try to make light of a very, very, very dark day in Cincinnati Reds history, but where else are you going to turn to try to figure out what else you got? I mean, if you don't have Ellie, if you don't believe in Ellie and you don't think Ellie's good, then it's like, that's fine. But what's your alternative? Like, who do you think's going to replace him? Who do you believe in? Like, you think that Arroyo's going to be ready? He's in Chattanooga. It's been hurt half the time. I don't even know if he's in Chattanooga. Maybe he's in Louisville. I don't know. At this point, it is what it is. I know he got bumped up there. But point is that, you know what we do in this organization right now as fans? we're so beaten down and we're so hurt that all of our saviors and all the people that we think are going to fix our problems are guys that have never played Major League Baseball at all. And all I'm saying is, at some point, the front office is going to have to go out and get some guys that have played winning Major League Baseball that still can play winning Major League Baseball. And I don't know how much Kyle Schwarber costs, Mike, but I guess I'm openly going to say there's a chance that he regresses for sure, because let's face it, is he going to hit whatever he's going to hit? I don't know if it's 60, but is he going to hit 60 home runs again in 2025 and 2026? Probably not. But, like, that's the type of move that truthfully is what a serious all-in organization would do. And I know that's a lot to ask. I'm not going to act like it's not. That's a lot to ask. But that's, to me, the only thing that I think can help this team is go find some guys that are going to hold people accountable in the clubhouse, that not only can they hold people accountable in the clubhouse, Mike, they can also back it up. You can't have a guy like Jamier Candelario trying to be a leader who hasn't won anything, who also is getting paid a lot of money, who's hitting 160. Not going to work. Everyone's going to laugh at the guy behind his back. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? This guy can't hit water if he fell out of a boat, and he's trying to tell me how to go about my business. That ain't going to work.
Yeah. It's one of those where we're going to need, hopefully, I will say this. I think this, what we're dealing with has made me even look back on the Joey Votto experience that we got, the tenure of Joey Votto, and appreciate it even more.
Yeah,
exactly. Because he was, not only was he that guy, he was the young up and comer for those 2010 seasons, but just showed consistent success all throughout his career, up until the end. He obviously fell off there when he was 39, but like I've just come to appreciate what Votto was able to do so much more after what we're seeing, as the ups and downs that go through being a successful Major League Baseball player, and seeing how fleeting that often is. And for him to do it for as long as he did, as graceful as he did, for a city that, very rarely put enough behind him, makes me feel even more thankful that we got to, I got to watch Joey Votto and that whole career here in Cincinnati, just because it's just so hard to replicate. Boy, would I take even, like, maybe not his last season, Joey Votto, but would I have taken, 2021 or 2020, or yeah, like I wouldn't, I don't need prime Joey Votto, but boy, I would love to have that guy in the clubhouse who, was talking to Ellie, was talking to Will Benson as they were struggling, and was helping those guys try to work through it, and then still also producing offensively. Yeah, man, it just makes me appreciate that guy even more, and I cannot wait till he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Like, I'm thinking I want to maybe try to go out there and be there in person. It's just like, I've come to appreciate Joey Votto even more with what we've had to deal with.
Yeah. Well said. I mean, we're just so far away from a guy like that it's a little disheartening at times, because we just don't seem like we have too many guys that can showcase themselves to be that. But to be fair, there's a chance that Sal Stewart could be a special player. I'll openly admit that. I think that there's a chance that Ellie could be a special player. I also would say that I do believe in some of these guys that are a little bit younger, but I don't know if there's enough of them to make me think like, man, this is going to be a slam dunk situation no matter how it goes. I do think that Duno's a good player. I do think that Cam Collier's a good player. I don't really believe in Arroyo. And I don't know if there's anyone at AAA right now that would make me think that it's going to be like a slam dunk. Hector Rodriguez could be a flash in the pan. Maybe he's a good player, but he just reminds me of another guy. Like, there's a Reese Hines situation or a CES situation where you get hot in AAA and you come up here and they expose you at this level. Major League Baseball exposes non-consistent, good, reliable hitters. And it feels like we kind of have this feast or famine with some of these guys, and we also don't give them a long time to figure it out either. Like CES, I don't like, this sounds crazy. Does he play for the Reds ever again? Does he? I don't know. Like and that's insane to think, because not that long ago, he was 100% a main ingredient or part of the quote unquote core that was going to take us to the next level. And now I'm openly telling you that I guess maybe you can convince me he'll have like maybe an at bat again or something crazy. I don't know. But will he have another huge main role for this team ever again? I don't know. Signs are saying probably not, to be honest. That's what signs are saying.
Yeah. You never know with injury, obviously, but like it sure seems that Sal Stewart has just fully gone up and skipped over him, and is now, I think most people are like, he's played well enough at first base, even in his limited time with his limited experience. Give him an offseason and he's our starting first baseman. I think most people have arrived at that already with, what he's been able to do so far in the big leagues. So, I don't know. That's a good question. I was thinking Duno as well. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, does Alfredo Duno and Ellie De La Cruz ever play together on the Reds?
I don't think they do.
Is he even going to be here by the time Ellie De La Cruz is, not unless we somehow miraculously get an extension with Ellie De La Cruz, but it's just like, seems unlikely that we even see these two, extremely talented in their own ways prospects and players even play together. So that's a hard pill to swallow as well.
That's the main issue. That's the main issue with small market baseball teams and what's going to happen at the CBA is that you can homegrown talent all you want. You can try to get as many fluid and good classes in all you want. But as far as having legitimate superstar players playing together with a small market franchise, it is next to damn near impossible. It just is. And we'll see whether or not the Reds are fortunate enough. I thought, to be honest, Mike, I thought there was a small chance that's what Matt McLain and Ellie De La Cruz was going to be. It was like, holy smokes, we just hit a absolute home run with the middle of our infield, and we are going to have superstars, not just good players, legitimate, like, Altuve and Bregman for the Astros, or Correa and Altuve, however you want to look at it. I don't give a damn how you look at it. That seems so far-fetched for the Reds. But the Astros did do it, to be fair. I mean, they legitimately had unbelievable players. And I know they were bad for a long time before they got there. But again, I go back to the top and I ask myself, last thing I'm going to say, we're going to go to 988. This is what maybe the most disheartening things about where I'm at with a Reds fan and why maybe I am so sad. If I had faith in the people that were running this ship, it certainly shouldn't feel like we fly by the seat of our pants half the time when it comes to just getting guys coming up here. Sal Stewart was supposed to be a third baseman. He was playing quite literally almost every single game in the minor leagues at third base. They then, at the trade deadline, take on a pretty sizable contract in a non-hitting third baseman in Brian Hayes, who, again, I don't mind him. He's been good since he's gotten here, but I just go back to the fact of what is the plan? What is the plan? So now the plan is that we're not going to play CES again. We're going to shift over a guy that's never played first base to play first base again, to replace a guy that's never played first base. We got Gavin Lux DHing. With all due respect to Gavin Lux, and I think he's an okay player, but my God, is there any team in the world that's worth a damn that has Gavin Lux as the designated hitter? You went out in the offseason, Mike, and you traded at the trade deadline. At the trade deadline, you said that you cared about pitching and defense. Yet in the offseason, which was not that long ago, 4 months prior to when you're sitting there telling everybody you care about pitching and defense, you went out and you signed Gavin Lux to play what position? I mean,
left field, poorly. Second base,
you signed Jeimer Candelario to a relatively sizable contract, and you knew that he probably was going to age, and you knew that he probably wasn't going to defensively hold up. I'm not talking about his hitting. I'll give them a pass for the hitting. That obviously just that well just went completely dry out at a moment's notice. But there is just no plan, Mike. That's how I feel. It just seems like, oh my God, this guy's playing well. We got to get him to the big leagues. Let's just move mountains and just forget any semblance of a plan and throw him out there. I mean, you draft Steele Hall. Again, I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but you draft Steele Hall. The kid's 17 years old, and I hate to say it, like that. You mean to tell me that was the can't miss prospect that we had to take, who's going to have a future expectation to play for this franchise in 2032? Is Nick Krall even remotely close to being around in 2032? Is that how naive this front office is that they think that they have it so good right now that there's no sense of urgency? And maybe there's not. Maybe maybe the front office or not. Maybe the ownership group has told these guys, hey, if you just, make sure we're not the Colorado Rockies and you keep us somewhere around competitive baseball and we, make sure the shareholders get their cut every single year. You guys did it in our book. We're happy with whatever you're doing. Maybe that's possible, but I don't know. I try not to believe that. Did I stump you, Mike?
I think you have a pretty... No, it's all right. I think you have a pretty fitting ad read that I think you need to read now.
Fair enough. All right. If you're ever in a time of crisis or you need some help, it's okay to not be okay. I'll say that again. It is okay to not be okay. You can connect by texting and or calling 988 day or night to 24/7 anonymous hotline. You can also visit mantherapy.org. That's mantherapy.org to get help. So shout out to 988 as always for being a resource available that we all need to know about. Omaha Steaks, boy oh boy, did they pick a good time to come along. I mean, this place. I got to tell you. I mean, I love steak, and there is nothing better than a steak on the grill in the fall. But boy oh boy, if life's about timing, Omaha Steaks did not do a good job of that. But I will tell you, timing is of the essence. You know why? Because right now they have a 50% off site-wide sale. Plus, you get $35 off your order of $159 or more by using the code Chatterbox. That's CHATTERBOX at omahasteaks.com. That's $35 off your order of $159 or more with the code Chatterbox, CHATTERBOX, omahasteaks.com. And the Bengals. They're 2-0, baby. They're 2-0. Let's turn this show around. Sunday, September 21st from 12:30 to 5. You can go to the Chatterbox Bengals live show featuring a pregame, halftime, and postgame show. That is all at Smoke Justice. And I also believe Smoke Justice has a jersey giveaway as well, so you can keep that in mind. Just head down to Smoke Justice and enjoy yourself. Get some bourbon. Hang out with the Chatterbox Bengals crew and find your way down to 302 Court Street, Covington, Kentucky. Again, that's Smoke Justice, Sunday, September 21st, 12:30 to 5. Well,
I know. Go ahead.
We got super chats. I don't know if you want to do them or I can do them. I'll run through them here really quickly. Alex Benyes Harris, thank you for the super chat. He says 2 hole hitters: Judge, Riley, Schwarber, Lux. Yeah, that's it. Got a clown emoji. I don't know what that's about. I think I do, but I'm not going to get into it. Putrid Talent says 13, Mike. I'll post them in Discord for reference.
Yeah, that was 12 was me counting on Baseball Reference during the intro. So I must have missed one. Or maybe I guess what I didn't do is I didn't count tonight. It was 12 and then 13 was tonight. So
yeah. Fair enough. 13 shutouts. That's where we're at. Herlo says off-season goals Ellie to the outfield or big trade. You can only lead the league in air so many years. McLean to short or minor. Steer to second. Sal to first. Herlo, I love you. I really appreciate the super chat, but we can't do that, okay? I'll tell you why. Let's talk about this really quickly. One, we're going to move Ellie to the outfield. I'm not saying that that's the world's worst decision if you had an elite level defensive shortstop waiting in the balance that you believed in. All right? So, where you lose me is now you're telling me that McLean has to go to short. McLean's already a guy that's a fringe big leaguer as is right now. I don't care what you say. He's going to have to play better in 2026 to be on the major league team. We can't continue to run guys out there for 75% of the year when they're one of the worst attributing players in the entire league. And I got news for you. We got 2 of those guys on this team. Like it or not, and I like McLean, but we got 2 of them. Matt McLean and Santiago Espinal have been one of the league's worst contributing players on a winning baseball team. That's what the stats say. That's not me talking. I'm just being fair and balanced, as I say. McLean's not a guaranteed player. So, okay, now you're saying, okay, McLean has to play shortstop. Spencer Steer playing second base is not happening. That's not happening. We might as well just put Jonathan India back at second base. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah, I looked up some of this. I saw this super chat, and I looked up some of his stats. He's -1 outs above average at second base and -6 at third base. So where you lose me is, like, if you're going to move Ellie for defense, whatever, the shift that you have doesn't improve your defense.
Right.
It moves. Maybe McLean does perform better at shortstop, maybe. But Steer is going to perform significantly worse than McLean at second base, and Sal is going to perform. He's been all right so far, but I just, I expect some growing pains there, and it's just like, in a move that the claim is, hey, I want to make this defense better. I think you actually make the defense worse. Not to mention,
right.
There's I don't think Steer would lead the league in errors at second base in the same way Jonathan India didn't. It's because he wouldn't get to half of them. He wouldn't have the chance to make the errors because his range is so poor. So there's, I've definitely not given up on Ellie De La Cruz at shortstop. Has he made some errors that have even cost this team in games? Yes, he has. But I still, like, to me, the upside, the athleticism, that cannon of an arm is something that I still think has the ability to get better at. And, I know if Sal is our overall stays at first base, I don't know how he ends up being when it comes to picking the ball, but I think that there's definitely been some throws that Ellie has rifled over there that have gone as throwing errors, but I think probably should have been scooped. So there's aspects of that as well. So I definitely have not given up on Ellie at shortstop. I know that you keep seeing, I keep hearing, he tracked that ball well, just like an outfielder from Cowboy or from John Sadak. And it's just like, let's cool the jets here. It's just like, I get that he's made errors, but I've said this before. I was like, I would rather a young guy with athleticism that gets to way more balls than a normal shortstop would, frankly, than Matt McLean would, and has throwing issues or, doesn't make the routine plays, which is our biggest frustration, right? It's like a ground ball to him. He doesn't make it's like those you can clean up. Those can get better.
Maybe. I always say that, Mike. Maybe. I don't know if they will, and that's the $1 million question. Yeah. Is will those get better or not? Your shortstop needs to be able to make the routine plays, and that's what Ellie's not been capable of doing. And I would say, really, the vast majority of his errors have become of the throwing variety, and he's just got bad footwork. I think lazy is not the right word to use because I don't think he's naturally lazy. I just think he's been so gifted for so long that he's gotten away with bad fundamentals. And those bad fundamentals, when put under pressure, they showcase and they find themselves and they show you why they're bad fundamentals. When you play free and clear and you don't have any worries at all in AA and AAA and there's really no pressure. Let's face it. If Ellie went out and made 2 errors in Louisville, there's nobody in Louisville complaining about it. There's nobody caring about it. There's nobody screaming and yelling or getting upset. He doesn't have the same fear factor, if you want to call it that, as he does playing shortstop in the big leagues. We'll see if he's capable of getting better. Here's what I'd say about this. You could convince me, because I'm a little bit of I started Chatterbox, so I'm a little bit of a risk taker. I'm okay with putting in some sweat equity in something for the chance of it just crashing and burning. If I'm going to go ahead and take a chance on my defense worsening, I'm not opposed to this. And again, I feel like there should be middle ground here. I think that there are people that are going to say you don't move Ellie at all because you've not seen enough and he might be an unbelievably good shortstop. And I would say that's possible. And I think that there's some people saying that he's made the most errors in Major League Baseball, is never going to be a good shortstop. You got to move him to outfield. Okay, I understand why you feel that way too. I'm okay with moving Ellie to center field if you have a reasonable plan that you think is a calculated risk. One is, do I think Ellie's going to figure it out no matter where you put him in the field? I do, because I think he's an exceptional athlete. He's an exceptional athlete. It wouldn't shock me in the slightest if he becomes one of the best defensive outfielders or center fielders in all of Major League Baseball. All right? If that allows you to move TJ Friedl to a corner outfield spot and put him lower in the lineup, call it 8th or 9th, I think that TJ Friedl is actually a pretty damn good player for a good team for that role. He's not a good player in a leadoff spot playing center field, okay? I'll say that. He's not a good player for a leadoff spot in center field. But if you believe that Matt McLain can bounce back and you want to move him to shortstop, okay. Instead of putting Spencer Steer at second base, this is where I get upset, because we don't ever get to see this, and we just sit here and play meaningless baseball for the next 2 weeks, and we're never going to see any of this. Sal Stewart, I'd like to see him at second base. He might be terrible there. I'll openly admit, I've not watched him play enough. I know his makeup, his body build, all those things point to the fact that he's probably not going to be great there. But you know what it does do? Is it gives you a legitimate great bat that's going to play second base, and it opens up the opportunity to go get another great bat at a premium position that should be a great bat. Now, do I think that's a perfect solution? No. But it's one that I'm willing to take a risk on, just because I think it opens up more flexibility and it gives you a chance to change the dynamic of what this lineup can look like. Period. The same way Marte moving to right field makes you kind of think, wow, that actually helps a lot, right? Like, we have a legitimate, good right field bat. We all hope that, obviously. Nunes Marte's been up and down. I don't want to get into all the guys and whether or not we truly can believe them or not. That'll take me down a really dark spiral. But point saying, the guy's played third base, second base before in his life. For all intents, I'm open to at least seeing it. And I guess people are going to laugh and say that's crazy. If you're suggesting that Spencer Steer can play there, no disrespect, but why not try Sal Stewart there? I mean, that's how I feel. It can't be. If you're going to be bad, might as well just be bad there.
Yeah, I understand that, and I saw someone, it might have been Bryce Spalding, friend of the show, point out that in his limited opportunities, the defensive metrics have been pretty good on Sal. So I would caution that we're talking very small sample size at this point. And it's one of those things that I don't, with that, a couple bad plays can immediately shift those numbers. So I'm not fully bought in to say, oh, yep, he's a first baseman, here we go. Because of the numbers, I would say, I guess I'm fine with him being first base because it seems like that's where he's going to fit with our current makeup. As much as we're clamoring about Ellie De La Cruz potentially moving to center field, I think there is 0 to none chance that happens next year, right? Like, going into next year, Ellie De La Cruz is still penciled in as your starting shortstop. And so because of that, Matt McLain is still penciled in as your starting second baseman. So it's just like, hey, for the most part, where he's going to get we can clamor all we want, but where he's going to get his shot is going to be first base. So I understand what you're saying. Like, maybe just switch Steer and Sal in that super and be like, well, let's see. We know Steer can handle it pretty good at first base and have Sal go. But I mean, realistically, what are we doing? I think he's playing. He's going to start out at first base unless we have like a Hayes injury or something like that. He's going to start out at first base. So it's, we can talk till we're blue in the face about this. And to be honest, we got a couple more weeks of shows that we're going to have to fill some time with. So maybe we save some of those conversations for that, because it's like, I think we're going to have a couple games where we're like, well, what do we talk about?
Exactly.
And I think that's where we end up to start the season, and that's going to be Salad at first.
Exactly. And the last thing I'll say is people suggesting that Hayes move positions to shortstop possibly. Listen, Hayes is an elite level player at the position he's currently at. He already probably, in my opinion, might not have like world-class range at shortstop. Now, I don't know what you're asking for him at shortstop, but the reality is that you don't take the best defensive player at his position and move him positions. That's what a dumb franchise would do. And to be honest with you, that's kind of what it feels like this franchise has done from time to time, which is, hey, let's see if Jonathan India can play second base. Never done it before, but let's try it out. Hey, Spencer Steer, maybe we can try to play him at first base. Let's try it out. Hey, Gavin Lux, never played outfield before. You want to give it a shot, brother? Go out there to left field, make a fool of yourself. Nick Senzel, we got you as a shortstop. Would you like to go try to play the outfield? Because we don't know where the hell you can play. Go ahead, try to figure it out there. Santiago Espinal, I know we picked you up as to be a guy that can fill in for Matt McClain because he got hurt, and you're basically gonna play some infield. But you know what? Could you play right field for us? Is there a chance you could go out there? Go for it, my man. I don't know. I'm losing track of thought now, but you get the point. We've done that. We've done that song and dance. And the reality is that's what bad franchises do. And right now, I don't know if we're that or not, but it feels like at times we trend in that direction. All right, folks. Any other final super chats before we got to get out of here? Jacob Doyle said, same old, same old. And Putrid Talent chimes in and said, the Reds lead the league in shutout losses. The next 7 teams are tied at 8. How in the hell is that not a sign where we also play at GASP? I think they're going for Small Park there, for those that are wondering.
Park, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this team, we're in September 16th, 2025, and boy, we've done this show about 35 times already this year, so we are not going to make it 35 and a quarter at this very moment. So thank you for the super chats. Very much appreciate everybody for supporting the show on a night like tonight, and hopefully you found some entertainment. And for those that are wondering why we went on, complete tangents about random things that had nothing to do with the game, well, I hate to break it to you, but unless the Reds go out and do something special, that's probably going to be what some of these shows are going to be like over the next week and a half. But we do have MILB maybe for one final time, or right around one final time, Mike. I guess take us down on the farm.
Yeah, that's for sure. We got Louisville starting out with Louisville won today 3-1. We mentioned Blake Dunn's home run. Actually, Blake Dunn and I believe Hector Rodriguez led off the game with back-to-back home runs, and that was enough to carry them through with a 3-1 victory over Nashville. Blake Dunn 1 for 2 with the home run. Hector Rodriguez 1 for 3 with the home run. We got Reaver San Martin came in, 3 hits and 1 run in his appearance. Sam Moll, who has continued to be dominant down there. I guess there's a certain amount of time that a guy's got to stay down there, but it's just like he's gone down and whatever happened lit a fire. And maybe it's, we'll see him, but it may be also too little too late. And then Luis May also with an inning pitch, 0 hits, no runs, going and getting that win against Nashville, hopefully finishing out this series well. But the thing that everyone else came for is really our Chattanooga Lookouts, starting the division series today against the Birmingham Barons. And boy, did they come out and hang a huge victory on. They won 8-6. They were actually down 6-0 going into the 6th inning, and they scored 6 runs in the top of the 6th inning and then another 2 in the top of the 9th to get the 8-6 victory. Edwin Arroyo, 1 for 5. Ethan O'Donnell, 1 for 4. Leo Balcazar, 1 for 4. Cam Collier, 1 for 4. And then Austin Hendrick. Don't look now. Austin Hendrick, 4 for 4 with a double and 2 RBI. So I believe the Reds ended up taking the lead on a Leo Balcazar single in that top of the 9th inning to win 8-6. So they've won game one. It's a 3-game series. If they can win one of the next 2 games, they'll advance to, I believe, their championship series for their division. Unfortunately, the season has then finished for the Daytona Tortugas, who lost Game 2, getting a 2-game swept by the Lakeland Tigers in the Florida Championship Series. They obviously lost 9-2. Cole Schoenwetter, 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned run. Tyson Lewis, obviously, had some hits here. Tyson Lewis, 2 for 4. Arnaldo Lantigua, 1 for 4. Ichiro Kano, 1 for 3. Alfredo Alcantara, 1 for 3. I don't know if you did hear, though, Alfredo Duno 0 for 4 tonight, but was named the MVP of the Florida State League this year. So I know we talked a little bit about him, but it's good to see Reds down on the farm getting some recognition, and I think that's a cool honor for a 19-year-old in High A to win the MVP.
Yeah, well, like I said, I believe in Duno. I think he's going to be a good player as long as, and I know this is going to sound very, very, very crass, and it's going to sound very, very, very cold, and I don't mean it that way. I'm just being honest, as I always try to be on this show. As long as he continues to make sure that he, what's the right word to use here? I don't want to be disrespectful, but as long as he continues to make sure that he treats the profession as that and doesn't turn into a Mike Moustakas situation to where you just find yourself in a position where you probably haven't been as nutritious as you should have been. That's as nice as I can put it. I know people laugh. They think that's a joke, man, but, I mean, he's 19 years old, man. You know how many, Mike, you want to laugh? How many 19-year-old, guys and gals did you go to school with? And then, you check Facebook or some social media when you get out of college and you say, holy smokes, what happened? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
At 19.
None of those guys are professional baseball players, though.
Well, I'm just saying he's a professional baseball player right now, and he's 19, and I'm already asking those questions. Just saying, just being honest.
I got full faith. I have full faith.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying, like, if put it this way, if I don't say what I feel, and then all of a sudden in 2 years, 3 years from now, everybody's like, what's going on here? I don't understand why this happened. It's like, well, I was trying to tell you back in 2025 that somebody within this organization should be taking that and focusing on it and making sure that it's a priority. It shouldn't, the kid shouldn't even get an option. He should be on a specific plan, and this is what it is, and you're going to abide by it because you're in our organization, and we have a dietitian that is going to be all over all of these guys that we're trying to get better. We're trying to develop players, Mike. That's what this organization should be trying to do. Develop players, and they should be so laser focused on everything that they could possibly do to help these guys. And I just wonder sometimes, based off the way and what things I see, if that's something we even do. I don't know. Really, I don't know. Do we even have a dietitian? Do we even have anyone that checks in on diet and exercise at those levels? I genuinely don't know. But.
Well, you heard Craig yesterday. People in the Reds some people in the Reds organization do give us a listen. So if they didn't know now, they definitely know.
I'm just wondering. I'm actually going to look that up and see if I can find somebody.
That we need to, yeah, I'm sure that they do. I feel like I remember Jim Day doing a spot on it in the middle of one of these dog days of summer games about how something like that has helped the major league team or something like that with
major league team
or something.
Major league team.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this should start when they enter the organization. Okay. The very beginning. This is how we do things. Not when you get to the big leagues. Oh, welcome to the big leagues. Here's somebody that's going to help you work out. You were good enough to get to the major leagues, so now we're going to make sure that we fix you. Okay, got it. That makes a lot of sense. Maybe we should focus on the guys that aren't in the major leagues to see if there's some potential that we could possibly tap into that is unmatched or unfound because they're not going about their business the right way because no one's ever told them. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying those are the things that I wonder about.
He does play the position where being a little bit on the larger side is okay. So there's that aspect too.
Yeah. I guess so. It's if you're a hockey goalie, then it's maybe not a bad thing to make sure that you can't even see the net, right? Not a bad idea. ABS will be around.
I hear there's a game tomorrow.
That's right. Let's get out of here.
I hear there's
a game tomorrow.
I hear there's a game tomorrow.
Is there a game tomorrow? I don't know. I mean, I guess so. I guess if they went out, Craig, by Craig, I mean Mike. I'm just gonna shut up at this point.
Yeah, tomorrow we have Brady Singer, who's actually had a very, very good second half for the Reds, going against Reds nemesis Andre Palante. I feel like we faced this guy so much, and he's, for the most part, handled us with these funky delivery and sinker ball pitches that he throws. But Brady Singer, obviously 13-10 with a 3.94 ERA, and Andre Palante 6-14 with a 5.34 ERA. This will be a business day special. 1:15 p.m. is when the game is. So there'll be a pregame show, but it'll be at noon. So, and then I believe Trace will be coming to you live in the ninth inning as well in the afternoon. I don't know if you're just now finding out that this is in the afternoon, but
I'm ready, baby.
All right. The Cardinals against Brady Singer. Obviously, we have Lars Nootbaar is 3 for 9. Thomas JC is 2 for 6. Wilson Contreras, who was out of the lineup today, 2 for 8. Herrera 1 for 3. And let's see, Alec Burleson 1 for 5. And it seems like hasn't given up a home run to any of those guys there. But so a little bit, not much success. However, the Reds against Andre Palante, Ellie De La Cruz is 5 for 18. That's a 278 average. Gavin Lux is 4 for 13. And TJ Friedel 4 for 23 for a 174 average. So for the most part, not very much success against Andre Palante. So gonna need to go out and hopefully score a couple runs and see if Brady Singer can carry us to the finish line here. But yeah, that's what we have lined up for tomorrow's afternoon game. And hopefully we'll be here excited about a win, but it's definitely going to feel like too little, too late based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Who we kidding? They're gonna have to win out. That's quite literally what they're gonna have to do. I think I had said that they have 4 losses remaining after they dropped the first game to the Padres, and they have 1, 2, 3, and guess what today was? 4.
Number 4.
So I don't think they have one more they can give up. I know that sounds crazy, but you know what? It'll take a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 game winning streak to end the year. And is it 12? 1, 2, 3.
I think they have. Oh no, you're right. It's 11.
Game.
It was 12.
Game
yeah,
streak.
sorry.
That's okay.
I looked at it.
Just so everybody wants to know, we will probably remind you tomorrow, but in case we forget, it is Thirsty Thursday on Thursday against the Cubs. So there is that. So shout out to the marketing team down there at Great American Ballpark, really getting the fans fired up for that one. And then, of course, they're going to do the Fan Appreciation Day on Sunday the 21st, even though they do have one series left against the Pirates that following same week. Interesting move there as well. But, hey, who am I to judge? I just want to say thank you, everybody. We're out of here. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, like the stream. Show's probably way too long on a night like tonight anyways. In fact, I will say it's probably a guaranteed way too long, but hopefully you enjoyed it nonetheless. We'll see you tomorrow for the day game. And until then, take care. Go Reds. There's always 988 if you need it. Take care, everybody.